I saw a clip on YouTube, and it was just SpringHill drops a Dine with Tank, Amber, Riley, Queen Naija, and more, and they're basically just discussing.
Having like a meal and like talking about.
Yeah, they're having brunch.
I saw that.
State of R&B.
That looked awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It was Leon Thomas, Queen Naija, Eric Bellinger, Amber Riley, Kenyon Dixon. They were all joined for a conversation about the heart and soul of R&B.
With Tank.
So and Tank was, I guess, like the host
moderator.
of it all. Yeah, moderator host. So it was great. I loved it. They were talking about they had like scrolls with different questions on it, and they were going about asking. But one of the questions that I found important was when they were talking about like the negatives and the positives of R&B in the new times, and a lot of them were saying like the bad thing is like the funding, but then they were saying that's the good thing about it, because basically like you can have a platinum song, diamond song with $500.
That's
you
true.
know, but back in the day, it used to cost all of this money for you to get the same amount of listeners and views that you're getting to the same day. So now like the business is trying to figure out how to make money again off of R&B artists, and now it's like evolving again. But I thought that was like the most important part of it, because like everybody always says, they're like, is the conversation of is R&B dead or is it alive? And I think that's the important part that people are not missing. It's the business of it that's keeping it from being in the forefront like pop music and like rap music is. And I just thought that was like a major part of this conversation that everybody should watch.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I'm one that is kind of in the middle in terms of, I remember what it was like when you, even as an independent artist, when I could just put a project out and we could sell hard copy CDs. So even if we aren't selling all over the country, we're still at our shows, we're selling hard copy CDs. We're making 5, 10, 15 grand.
Right.
And it keeps our band going. It keeps us alive, and we're able to, still go. This era now, no one's buying physical copies of CDs. So you still want to get out there and perform, but how do you monetize it to stay alive? So the struggle, it's always been a struggle, but it's easier now to be exposed. It doesn't cost as much money. At the same time, it's harder to make money without some sort of machine behind you or something.
To stand out.
Or a specific strategy to stand out, exactly.
I think one of the things that Kenyon Dixon was saying was that like, because people can just make music from their rooms, like
that's also a negative.
It's oversaturated, and like
Supply
there's nobody.
he
said there's nobody to tell him that it's trash. Like, and now
That's
it's
right.
just all this stuff that you have to like sort through to find that one or two people who are like really.
Very, very true.
Really on their shit when it comes to their craft. And I also thought it was interesting. I think it was Queen Naija's question. She was, her scroll was something about like, do you feel like you're in control of
your image and your
artistry?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's such an important question for them to like sit with more. Because I think they kind of glossed over it a little bit. And like, I think I would have liked to see more.
I think the artists that were on the show, they're all pretty well developed in a sense where it's not really a big thing to them. Maybe for like a newer R&B artist, it is harder to have control over your image and your
or maybe talk about
artistry.
The come up of that. I feel like especially Queen Naija, because she came from a really
YouTube.
different
and that's what I was going to say. I think it's the difference between a lot of them and newer age R&B artists, because now you go to a label, they're like, oh well, how many views do you have? Like, what's your most viral video? Have you gone viral? Is your sounds on TikTok? And it's like, Tank didn't come from a generation of that, So even Eric Bellinger, like, he's a songwriter, and he's like merging, or what we call bridging the gap of generations, but he still did not come up in a time of, I have to go viral to get my stuff out. So it's just I feel like the conversation it's needed, but it's just different for them, and that's probably why they glossed over it like that, because
it's almost like,
they have more control.
Back then, the labels had artist development. These days, they don't really do that. No. So now it's like
they want you to come developed.
You come developed,
right?
But what does that really look like? I've had conversations with artists, some really dope artists from this generation, that to me, they don't really have the chops yet. Like they're talented, but they don't have the chops yet. What I mean by that,
10,000 hours yet. They
you know what I mean?
done the
Yeah,
work
exactly.
to
like
have that experience.
Listen, I remember like when I was in junior high school, I'm so R&B. When I was in junior high school, I would sing to the girls, and then they would like get all their friends there, and they'll call me on the phone, and we'll be like 10 people on the phone, and I'm having like an on the phone concert.
You having an on the phone concert.
You know what I mean? Like that is,
putting your
I come
work
from
in.
R&B like that. You know what I mean?
for
Like
real.
And of course, doing talent shows, performing all over the place, and you learn, what you're good at, what you're not so good at, getting in front of the crowd and all that.
Right.
I literally had a conversation with a guy. He's amazing. He literally did his first show after his song went platinum. He had never, like platinum from streams, but he had never performed before.
Right.
And I just was like, I was so amazed by that.
And
I'm
that's
like,
basically new age music nowadays.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
so
like,
it's a weird thing I'm sure for a guy like Tank, for a guy like, or like myself, guys like that comes from that era and who had to do all this groundwork to get there.
Right.
Versus now, you can be at your computer, you can record and put a whole project together.
Right.
And people like it, and it goes crazy, and you never.
4 bets.
You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
That's just the new wave. So it's pros and cons to it. I think when you put in the hours, you're actually built for longevity. When you don't, you hit a wall and you don't know where to go from there. You know what I mean?
R&B only.